Hey everybody, if you just joined us over here, we'll get started in just a second. We're waiting for everybody to come over. I'm just making sure it's pushing everybody over from the demo room. If you just jumped over here, we'll be here in just a second, just confirming it's pushing us over. Moment of truth. Okay, I think it did. I'll give people a second here to continue jumping in. Okay, Ryan, on your end, can you see people jumping over into the Q&A room? I think it looks like there's 52 of us here. We can probably get started. Okay,
I actually
awesome.
can't see the number, but we're good.
Thank you for the confirmation in the chat that it successfully worked. And let me pull Simon over here with us as well. Thank you so much, Simon, for the awesome demo. And thank you all for joining us over here. Yeah, thank you all for joining us over here for the Q&A too and spending time with us this Wednesday. As a reminder, if you do want to ask any questions anonymously, you can use the link that I've been sharing in the previous chat, but I'll share it again right here. Or you can also just ask questions in the YouTube chat here too. But I usually save this for the very end of our presentations, but I thought it may be worth saying at the beginning too. I know Simon showed he was working from Workbench and Connect. So if anybody's ever interested in doing a trial of Workbench or Connect shown today, you can use this link to book a call with our team and receive an evaluation environment. They love to chat more with you about your use case. So I just want to make sure I didn't forget to share that there. So a lot of times, I don't know, companies might already be using our tools. So if you just want more information on how to connect with others too, within your own company, how we're supporting your company, you can also let me know here at this short link. It's just pos.it/connect us. I was doing this through my LinkedIn and through email before, so I figured it'd just be good to have one place there. But thanks again for joining us. I'd love to just start with some intros here of all of us in the room. I know, Simon, you already introduced yourself, but maybe for the Q&A as well. But a quick fun fact, Ryan and Simon sometimes get mixed up, and now I can see why. Simon, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, sure thing. My name is Simon. I work on the tidymodels team at Posit, working on open source software for machine learning.
Ryan, want to intro yourself?
Yeah, I'm also Simon. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Ryan. I'm a data science advisor here at Posit. So I work really closely with all of our Posit customers and non-customers, just spreading the good word about our open source tools and our professional tools. And so we've been hosting these demos now for quite some time. And there was a pretty impressive attendance today, which was really awesome to see. But yeah, that's me.
And I'm Rachel Dempsey. I lead our customer marketing here at Posit, and I host quite a few of our community events like these end-to-end workflows and the data science hangout as well. So happy to see you all here and see some of these great questions coming in. Want to give a thank you to you, Ryan, as well for leading some of the past sessions too. It looks like we have a new record to beat with the number of people joining this one though. Okay, so let's jump into the Q&A. Let's see. So one of the questions that came in a bit earlier on YouTube was, does tidymodel have a large language model equivalent with fine-tuning a pre-trained model, for example? Also, how does one set up GPU support?
This is a great question, and this is one we get a lot. So tidymodels is focused on predictive modeling for tabular data. And so large language models are out of the scope of tidymodels. But there has been quite a bit of effort about integrating large language models generally into the IDE experience in RStudio. For GPU support, though, tidymodels is compatible with any parallel backend that you can register with for each, which is a package in R. So there's all sorts of different frameworks that you can use to connect to the computational resources you have. And tidymodels from there will handle all of the interfacing with cores.
Great, thank you. I forgot I can just pull these over from YouTube here. So let me show one that's coming in now. The question was, our Markdown is not suited for this, similar to Jupyter Notebook using R and Posit. Is there any tool that you might recommend to me?
So I think this might be, okay, yeah. There was a comment just before this about how Mustafa instructs undergraduate students, and so they want to share a notebook with the students that they can check out code in and see some like narrative in that notebook while they're teaching. So if you
sorry,
feel
I didn't realize it was two-part question. So I showed the first part now. Yeah, let me read again. Okay. As teaching data science for marketing analytics using ARM Posit for undergrad students, I want to have a notebook where we write code and write text in it and share with the students.
Uh-oh. Might have lost Rachel there.
All is well. I think we can.
Okay. We lost you for a second there, Rachel, but I think we got the question. All good.
Yeah. Okay, well, I hear this for sure. I think the idea here is like, can we pass along some sort of notebook to students where they can actually interface with code inside of the notebook while they're learning? One option for this that I have really enjoyed over the years is the Learn R package. So you can put together tutorials where students can actually run code inside of an R session from their browser, and or on a hosted server, and then you can intersperse your explanation and stuff through there. Also, if you were working in an environment like a Posit Team session where you can just have students pull the R Markdown into their own IDE session, in that instance as well, R Markdown could do the trick, or Cordo would do the same thing.
Great, thank you. Seems like a really fun time for my Wi-Fi to go out, so hopefully, okay. Another question was, are there other R alternatives to MLOps other than Vetiver and Pin and Tidy?
I'll give a go at this. I'd also be interested to hear y'all's perspectives on this. I think there was really a dearth of options in R for deployment before Vetiver came around, and I would say, to my knowledge, it's really like the complete solution to that problem that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and Simon pretty much nailed it, but there really was, there was lots of ML ops tools within the Python ecosystem, but there wasn't really one that stood out in the R world. Like, you can certainly kind of build your own, way to monitor models and deploy models, but there wasn't a single tool for that. And so that was really the driving force behind Vetiver. So there are probably ways you can, home grow some solutions here, but really the reason why Vetiver was created is to make that one solution for MLOps.
So I see there are a few questions related to CICD. And so one that came in on Slido from Lorenzo was, How about managing deployments via GitLab CICD or GitHub Actions or some other CI/CD tool? And
Yeah,
maybe
I can
good
at
to
least
even just like give an explanation for anyone who doesn't know what CI/CD is, what that stands for as well.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that, and then Simon, you can certainly round out any edges here. But the CI/CD is the continuous integration, continuous deployment kind of almost like set it and forget it kind of method for either deploying products or monitoring products. So for Posit tools, and speaking to the point of like taking a model or something that you've created in R or Python and deploying it to say Connect so that it lives there, it can be shared and consumed by people. There are ways that you can integrate with things like GitHub Actions to constantly have that deployment process automated via some kind of trigger, for example. Like maybe there's an update to a repository or something that can trigger that CI/CD pipeline to automatically deploy your model, your updated model. So that's one way to do it with GitHub Actions. There's also within Posit Connect, there's a feature for job scheduling. So if you wanted to, for example, every morning at 7 a.m., rerun your model to pull in the latest data and retrain that model and deploy that pinned vetiver model, you can certainly do that with Posit Connect as well. So those are kind of the two methods that I would speak to right now.
Yeah, I would say hit the nail on the head.
I was going to go try and grab that link to the part about job scheduling, but that was too much multitasking. So if anybody wants to put it to the chat, feel free. One other question was, how performant or fast is tidymodels compared to other frameworks in R?
So tidymodels doesn't implement the algorithms used to train the models ourselves. We make use of existing packages in R to make that happen. And then we have a layer on top that sort of standardizes the way that you interface with those models. Earlier this year, we spent a good amount of time making sure that the layer on top of those existing R packages that we've written is as performant as possible. So once you're training more complex models, or you're working with data that most people will see in an applied context, that overhead is basically negligible. So your modeling pipeline is as fast as is otherwise possible in R. We also have a few tricks up our sleeves to reduce the amount of models that you actually need to train to still be able to evaluate many models at once. And we set up, we try to make it very easy to accidentally do the most performant approach to a modeling problem that somebody might be tackling.
Thank you. I see Carlos asked a question over on YouTube. Thanks, Simon, for the presentation. Regarding the model monitoring, I saw an example in Vetiverse page, but is there something developed to automatically check that?
I think Ryan's answer to the question about continuous integration might speak to this
Okay.
a bit. In Vetiverse page, we'll have some resources about how to connect to different continuous integration options.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I saw over on YouTube is wondering if you could talk a little bit about the process and how much of it can, oh, I guess this is also CI/CD, can also be obtained. Sounds like we need a session on this topic too.
Yeah, right.
Okay. But if there's anything you want to add here, Ryan, it looks like you're about to say something.
I'll have to go back to some of our previous Posit Team workflow videos, but I'm pretty sure at least one of them, we've highlighted some of that job scheduling capabilities within Posit Connect. And so we'll drop the link here to our previous recording, so you can always go back to those and check out that feature. But like Rachel mentioned, this sounds like it might be like a really nice topic in the future, maybe like a part 2 to this session.
Yeah. And that's actually a good reminder to say, like, if there are things you want to learn about or curious about, feel free to post those in the chat right now as well, so we can gather that information. This was just like a fun question I wanted to ask you both, but I have a typo here. What's your favorite ML model you interact with?
Let me go first because my knowledge of modeling is not to the extent of Simon's, but during our Posit conference, I was actually fortunate to host a workshop where we actually took in real data from some restaurants around the Chicago area, and we built a model. And that was my first kind of, I wouldn't say my first, but my real in-depth usage of an XGBoost model, which I know is a very, very popular model. So that's now my current favorite.
I love to hear it. Yeah, and my answer is super similar. XGBoost is one option for an engine that you can use to fit a boosted tree model with tidymodels. Another engine that we implemented maybe a year or two ago is called LightGBM. It's another framework for boosted trees that is available in R. And the thing that I really like about it is very similar to XGBoost. It's quite tunable. You can find the right configuration for it pretty easily that will result in a performant model. And LightGBM is really similar in that way. But it also, the time that it takes to fit the model scales with the inputs somewhat differently than XGBoost. And so in a lot of situations, you can achieve similar performance with quicker fit time.
I thank you for those answers. What I actually was just curious about is like, do you have a favorite machine learning model you come across like in your daily life that is like very fun to you, like Netflix recommendations? I was thinking the one I probably use the most is on Amazon when it's recommending what else I should be buying.
Mm-hmm.
Like the subscribe and save. It's like, you should probably also subscribe for this.
I think this was one of the examples I called out in the talk, but I very much appreciate goofing around on Zillow and just looking at like apartments and houses in the city, and the estimates that are attached to those come from a machine learning model.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of one here. I guess maybe with just random social media where you get some advertisements about something that you're like, I guess I really did need this because machine learning tells me, and you end up buying some random stuff on Instagram or something. I've done that a couple times.
I try and fight it for so long. I'm like, I don't want to give in, but they think I need this. And then eventually I will get it. Another question from YouTube was, if I deploy a model to Connect, what is the best practice to bring this into a Shiny app? Do you schedule the model to update and export the data to an RDS in Connect?
Want me to take that one, Simon?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so when you have a model specifically deployed with Vetiver, I would say the best way, and what Vetiver makes really easy, is that it can take your model and serve it as an API. And that API can be either a Plumber API, it can be a fast API. And then once it's serving as an API, to have your Shiny application speak to the API is insanely easy. And so that would be our recommendation, mostly because that's what Vetiver kind of suggests. It gives you the tools to actually easily create that the API. So, and even if you've never created an API before, check it out. Like, go to the Vetiver GitHub pages, and they have some examples on how to create a very simple API. Because if you're like me, when I started kind of dipping my toes into the API world, I thought I was going to be way in over my head because it's like, APIs, that's super scary, but it's not. Vetiver makes it insanely easy, and then you can take that API, you can host it on Connect, and it will continue to run there forever. So it's always ready to be interacted with.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Awesome. I really liked your explanation of an API, Ryan, in one of the workflow demos that you gave, and there's a blog post that goes along with it. So I'm going to share that in the chat here too. But another question that came over on Slido was, how could I use tidymodels to retrain a model after getting new data in order to update it?
So part of this question, I think, is comes back to the CICD. I think so. If you're getting new data on a continuous basis and you want to run the whole modeling pipeline all the way through, then you can use the same script that you used to fit the model in the first place and connect it through continuous integration in the same way like we discussed before. But I think another part of the question is like, is there a way to interface with the model updating methods that some modeling engines have in R? So the idea here is if I've trained a model on 1 million observations, I get 100,000 more. Do I have to go back and like run the algorithm on all of those 1,000,000 and 100,000 observations, or is there some way to incorporate the information from those 100,000 into the original? Only a subset of engines in tidymodels will be able to do that. That just depends on what the model supports. But if that's available through the modeling engine, then you can interface with it in tidymodels as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I see we have time for a few more questions here. And I realized I missed one a bit earlier, but it was curious how to achieve linear regression and logistic regression using tidymodels. I want to do time series analysis.
Yeah, so in the demo, the slides where I was showing like what the tidymodels code would look like, and then what the code would look like with a bunch of different engines, that code is what we would use to fit a linear regression in tidymodels, and the code looks super similar to do the same for logistic regression. So you can read more about what models are available in tidymodels at the Parsnip website. That's parsnip.tidymodels.org. For time series analysis, there's a bit more to this question. I spoke a little bit to how tidymodels is extensible. Any developer can add on to tidymodels. We try to make it really straightforward to incorporate methods that further the ecosystem without us having to kind of give it a thumbs up. One of the there's like an ecosystem of packages that was developed by somebody external to our team. It's called Model Time, and Model Time again it's from a user in the community, and there's all sorts of options to working with time series models using tidymodels through that package. That's the Model Time package from Business Science.
Great. Thank you. I'm copying that one over into the chat too. There we go. A question I wanted to ask a bit earlier is I saw on the previous YouTube room that we were in, somebody said they're using tidymodels for their dissertation. And I'm curious, like, how does it feel for you hearing things like that?
It's so cool. It's really hard to put into words how exciting to hear like the different applications that people bring tidymodels in for. Yeah, I think that's like one of the best parts of my job is like hearing about the kinds of problems that people are trying to solve, being able to poke around with their data myself and learn a little bit about how people are using what we work on.
Definitely. Okay, maybe two more questions. So one here is, could you remind us what the package is that has the tidymodels default tuning parameter recommendations? I can't remember if it's an add-in or if it's an actual package.
So the package that contains the information that tells the rest of tidymodels how to tune parameters, that package is called dials. And you can learn about it at dials.tidymodels.org. So that package contains information about tuning parameters. And anywhere else in the tidy models, if you say, I want to tune the number of trees, tidy models will ask dials, okay, what do we know about the number of trees as a tuning parameter? And what option should we try out to get that tuning parameter right? And then dials will tell tidy models what values to try out. And you can add all sorts of custom configurations to how dials will provide those recommendations.
Great, thank you. It's funny how when I hear these package names now, I like picture the hex stickers for them.
We tend to name packages in a pretty silly way, keep it
Yeah.
light.
Okay, maybe this will be our last question. And if there's some that I missed, I'll go through and try and collect those and maybe send them over to Simon, if that's okay. But last question, what's coming up soon in Tidy Models and what are you most excited about?
We have two sort of big efforts that the team has been focusing on throughout this year, and both of them are very close to being released, which I'm super excited about. One of them is better tooling for survival analysis. So the censored package in Tidy Models has a lot of the bread and butter code for how all that will happen. And we're working on integrating that with the rest of the ecosystem. And so I think in the coming months, hopefully by the new year, we'll have lots of documentation and some release notes about how all that came together. The other thing that I've personally been spending a lot of time on, and this is coming about after we brought together a reading group within Posit about model fairness. So if a model is predicting outcomes that are somehow related to people, we want to make sure that we understand the ways that a model might predict values differently for different subpopulations. And there's all sorts of tooling out there for learning about how models understand information about subpopulations. And we've been putting together some functionality so that people can interface with those methods using tidy models.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Simon, for the amazing demo today and staying on here to answer all of our questions. And thank you, Ryan, too, for jumping in here to help with the Q&A as well. I appreciate all the amazing questions in the chat as well. And again, I'm sorry if anything happened to go unanswered. I'm going to go try and grab all those questions and I'll share them with Simon as well. But I did put up on the screen, if you're interested in joining future sessions, maybe this was your first one, thank you for joining us. You can add them to your calendar using the short link on the screen, pos.it/team demo. And we have these the last Wednesday of every month with a new data science workflow. But if you'd also like to spend more time with us this week, you can join us tomorrow at the Data Science Hangout, and Julia Silge from Posit will be joining us as our featured leader. And so you can just look up Posit Data Science Hangout to find out more info about that. And I'll share it here in the chat too. Lots of fun things going on. And again, if you are just curious now after watching this, if your team does already use our tools or you want to connect and chat with us, you can also just let me know using the short link I shared in the chat too. Just pos.it/connect us. Also, feel free to connect on LinkedIn too. It's so nice to see so many of you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one.